Of thought.
Get ready.
Open your mind.
Lady cat, lady class, lady Kendra, the unicorn four. You know. Thursday. Right here. Lady Kendra, lady class, lady cat, lady Ling. Unicorn four. You know.
Open your mind.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Prophet of Thought series right here on the old T.L.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why you're here. It's the night that we always are waiting for. The old T.L.O.T broadcast, the Ladies of Thought, Unicorn 4, live and direct up in here. I got to start right off with some bad news, though, of course. Lady Ming won't be with us tonight, y'all. She had wrote me earlier in the week, and she told me that, she had something going on and she was doing something. So we're going to be without Lady Ming. But y'all know that X always got a mystery unicorn in the stash. I'm not going to tell y'all who it is because I'm still kind of working on them as we speak. I'm still working on them. So we're going to see what happens because I'm actually working on my mystery unicorn right now. Yeah, working on her. So we'll see what happens. So what's good, everybody? As you know, from looking at the title, y'all can see that tonight we are going to be talking about the subjugation of Black folks. If you saw the promo, because we all know that we've been subjugated, okay, in this country by white folks, but have other groups, have other races of people contributed to the subjugation of us? Have they assisted subjugation of us as a people? So we're going to get into that tonight. Also, let me go ahead and thank everybody because last night I did get a few donations. Those of you who donated, you know who you are because you know I always sit down and write you a personal email, you know, thanking you for your contribution, thanking you for your support and your subscription. Those of you who know who you are, you know you got thanked by me personally because like I always do, whether I get 5 donations or 500, I sit down and I write you a personal email. It's not a chain letter email. It's a personal email to you specifically thanking you for your contribution because I appreciate it, because you don't have to spend your hard money on this platform, but you choose to because you see value in it. And for that, I am not only appreciative, but I am honored and I'm also humbled. So I want to thank you. Let me see what's good. Let me see who we got in the chat tonight. Let me shout out some of the chat folks. Scroll up. Jay Shine in the house, what's good? Don Teasy, Malika, what's good? Don Teasy, what's good? Brother BJ, what's good? Zula Beluga. Girl, you know I can't never get your name right. What's good, everybody? Yeah, so while we sitting here waiting for the ladies to pile in, I want y'all to know that pretty soon I'm going to be showing y'all the new digs, because if y'all have been following me, y'all know that I have acquired another building. And not only is it going to be a building to expand my power mechanic business, there's also going to be a studio in there. I have been working on it. I haven't put none of the video up yet because it's still kind of rough. I want y'all to kind of see the I want y'all to see the transformation, but look for it. It's coming, and because I'm taking everything and I'm moving it over there. There's a lot more space over there than what I have now. I mean, the studio that I have now is pretty makeshift. It's not, the other place is bigger. There's more room. Maybe I can kind of expand things, get a bigger soundboard, maybe pick up another computer. I do have some things over there already, but none of my stream stuff, my internet stuff is over there. So soon, one of these days, y'all gonna turn onto this stream and y'all gonna see total new digs. Y'all gonna be like, oh man, X is doing it. Yeah. So be looking forward to that. Also, I did get an email from Lady Katz as well. She says she's running a little behind also. So, we may have to wait around for Lady Katz. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight, y'all, is because in this country, we as Black folks, we often find ourselves subjugated, like I said earlier, subjugated by white folks in many different ways, whether it be in work, whether it be in politics, or whether it be personal, right? Now, when we hear the words bigotry, racism, discrimination, I mean, we automatically go right to white folks. I mean, that's the first thing we think. When Black people talk about discrimination and bigotry and racism and all that kind of stuff, the first thing goes to mind is white folks and Black folks. That's right where our heads usually go. But what we got to understand is that it's not only white people who it's probably mainly white people, but it's not only white people who have a problem with Black folks. Asians have problems with Black folks. Hispanics have problems with Black folks. And also, this is going to surprise no one, Black people from other countries often have problems with Black folks from the United States. I mean, that's just a fact. All right. That's just a fact. And the reason why I think that is because a lot of people who are in this country, okay, whether they are were born here or came here from somewhere else, I think they have a tendency to take on and kind of assimilate to the same mantra as white people do in this country for whatever reason. You know, they have a tendency to pick up that mantra. And what do I mean when I say that? What I mean is they come to this country and they know that many white people have an adversarial view of black folks. So what do? They pick up that same adversarial view of white folks due to whatever propaganda that has been spread about black folks, right? I had the professor on last night, Professor Cerulean, and him and we were discussing propaganda. And I do believe that many other people, many other ethnic groups, many other races have also they have kind of acclimated to that propaganda and have started to believe some of the things that white folks believe about us. Because when you think about it, a lot of people that come to this country, and even some of the ones that don't, even the ones that were born in this country, they have a tendency to pick up, they pick up the whole supremacy idealism, if you will. Okay. They kind of pick it up and they run with it. Now they're probably not able to utilize it the way Caucasian people are, but I do believe that they have picked it up and tried to run with it in a similar way. What's good, Lady Classic? I see you down there.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing this
I-
evening?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just telling the folks, I was saying that because tonight's topic is, of course, the subjugation of black folks. And I was telling them that often when we think of racism and discrimination and bigotry as black folks, our mind automatically go to white people. And it's not only white people who have problems with black people. Okay.
Absolutely. I
Um,
was actually just speaking to a friend about that today because, I was just talking about the racist attitudes walking through the mall today now that, I have my hair out natural and this big puff. And, they were like, well, I thought you said that Canada's not as racist as America. And I said, yeah, but the difference is that I'm not getting the racism from white people. I might get a tiny bit of fear from white people. Like they see my giant fro and they think, hey, maybe I'm there to attack them. They're not sure because they are initially scared. But the looks of disdain, those generalizations, all those bad stereotypes, I get those from Indian people and brown people basically here, sometimes from people from South Asia, whatever. Just generally, the continent of Asia and people who hail from there, they really don't like you when you're black. And the darker you are, the more they don't like you. And their attitudes are really openly racist.
yeah, I was talking about that because when I said that often Hispanics and Asians, they have some discriminatory type animosity towards black people. I'm not saying all of them, but they do have it. And black people who come from other countries also have it towards black people, here. you know Now you're up north, you're in Canada. So let me ask you, what's the racial climate like in Canada as far as Hispanics and Asians? Do uh do you experience any of that kind of racial animosity from those groups up there?
Hispanics, not so much. Honestly, they're not really a massive demographic, at least where I live, where I'm experiencing anything from them one way or the other. And most of the people who speak some type of Spanish are from the Caribbean. So you don't really get a lot of Hispanic people here who dislike Black people because you don't really encounter them as much. What I see, again, the majority, what you get here is anyone of Asian descent. And again, anywhere in Asia, it's India, Pakistan, China, wherever, that's where I feel the most of that racial tension and that, looking at me and being scared of me or disliking me just because of the color of my skin, especially when my hair is dark. like uh like like if I have my hair and it's blonde and it's straight and I look like I'm trying to conform, they like me a lot more, pretty much.
Mm. They don't trust you when you look like a Negro, huh?
Exactly.
when you when you're looking like, oh man, Lady Classic just dropped out. I guess she'll be back. Something must be going on with her phone or something. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I mean, I see it in my business. Okay. I deal with many different people, right? In my business. I deal with white folks, I deal with Hispanic folks, I deal with, Asian folks. And I have I have okay, Lady Cats, I got you. I see you. I have experienced a little um most of the stuff I experienced, to be honest, I've experienced it more from Hispanics than Asians. Now don't get me wrong, because I'm gonna tell y'all a story, right? Where I live at now, right? I was living on the other side of town, all right, before I moved where I am now, before we got the bigger house, right? And where I lived at before, it was mostly Hispanic and black folks over there, right? This is a different kind of area. So we decided to get a bigger house, right? And we decided to move to a different part of town. Now, where I was living at before is about 60 to 70% black, 20, 30% uh, Hispanic, and maybe a few white people here and there. Now, where I'm at now, it's a little different. It's more 60, about 60% white folks. The other, say, 20% is Asians, and the other, 20% is a mixture of Hispanics and black people. Okay, that's where I'm at now. And when we decided to get this house, because when we first got the house, I had to come over here and do some work on it before, we moved in it. We got the house and I came over here and actually worked on it for about 3 weeks before we moved in it, putting new doors on it, doing the floor, new garbage disposal, that kind of stuff, changing a few electrical outlets and windows and things like that. I did all of that before we moved in here. And I was outside one day, right? And next door to us is an Asian. There's an older Asian couple lives next door. And I was outside, with a commercial lawnmower because the grass was like 2 feet high. No one had like lived in a house in a while. So the grass was like 2 feet high. What's up, Lady Cats? I see you down there. The grass was like the grass was like 2 feet high. So I'm going down through there with my commercial mower, knocking it down. And the Asian lady comes out, older Asian lady. I guess she was like in her 70s or whatever. And she comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, do you cut it grass? Do you cut it grass?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cutting grass now." And she's like, "Oh, could you cut my grass? Could you cut my grass?" So I'm like, "Yeah, I can cut your grass, for $70 because she's got a huge ass yard, right?" And she agreed. She agreed for me to cut her grass. So I'm outside and I'm still cutting my grass. And she comes right back like 15 minutes, and she's asking me again, "Oh, are you going to cut my grass?" I'm like, "Yes, when I get done cutting mine." All right. So I go back to cut my grass. 20 minutes later, she's right back. Oh, you're gonna cut my grass. You cut my grass. I'm like, madam, do you see how much grass I have to cut here? I said, as soon as I'm done cutting this grass, I will cut yours. Now she came outside and she sat in the front of her yard, right? And she was just out there smiling at me and waving, while I'm cutting the grass. And when she saw me get done with my grass, now I'm getting ready to go and come and cut hers, right? And she's like, oh, never mind, never mind. I go get my other neighbor to cut it. So I'm like, fine, cool, right? She's like, oh, so that's what you do for a living? You cut grass? I'm like, no, that's not what I do for a living. I'm like, I'm a power mechanic. I own a power mechanic shop. That's what I do for a living. I work on this type of equipment. That's what I do. And she's like, oh, well, what you work, in this neighborhood here? I said, no. I said, I'm moving into this house in about 2 weeks. I'm going to be your neighbor. And when I said that, her whole facial expression changed. And she immediately got up, grabbed her lawn chair, and went into her house. Now, that day, she was talking my freaking ear off as long as she thought, I was just some grass cutting guy. But ever since then, that lady hasn't said 2 words to me. Now, she was fine with me being around here as long as she thought I was some black freaking laborer. But once she found out I was moving in next door, that lady hasn't said 2 words to me since. And I've been here almost 2 freaking years. Now, I'm not saying that she's, a bigot or anything like that, but it's pretty damn obvious that she changed her whole tune about me once she found out the old big black Negro was moving in next door. She pretty much had "there goes the neighborhood" written all over her face. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They can't help it, and you see it a lot as well. It's just like, when people will say things like, for example, "Hey, I have black friends," but their dog.
did we lose Lady Classic again?
Did she leave again? Oh man. So what was the question?
You're fading in and
Pardon?
out, Lady Classic.
Oh,
You're fading in and
Yeah,
sorry.
you
out. You're
broke
like
out.
fading in
I
and
am
out.
I am sorry. I am on the road right now. I kind of got stuck. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was just saying, there's a psychological dissonance there where they don't want to feel like bad people, but at the same time, it's all they know. I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be a bigot. I don't want to be racist, but you know what they are, and they don't want to really embrace kind of that attitude they naturally have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, let me ask you, Lady Katz,
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking about, the subjugation of black folks. And, often when we talk about these things, the first thing that goes through our mind is white folks. But we also know that it's not just white folks who think that black folks are beneath them. So have you experienced any bigotry or discrimination from other groups like Hispanics or Asians?
Um, yeah. So I'll give a brief story. Now for Hispanic people, I've actually been cool with a lot of Hispanic people for like most of my life. Um, when I was living in Florida, I had like a couple of Puerto Rican friends. In North Carolina, I had a lot of Mexican friends and black friends, of course. But I did have this one girl from Malaysia who was like one of my closest friends, and she used to have these parties every year, right? And her parents owned a Chinese restaurant, of course, and it was so funny the first time me and this one other black person got invited to her party. It was a black guy. Her mother comes out of the kitchen with a plate full of fried chicken, and she says to the black guy, "I made this special for you, for
Mm.
you." Like, and he didn't want to, like you could see he was mad, but at the same time didn't want to like make a scene at this girl's party. So I've experienced some bigotry with Asians. I will say, as far as Latinos, it's kind of so, like, because of who my mom is married to, a lot of Latinos will leave me alone. And, because I can understand the language they speak, a lot of them watch what they say around me when they realize that, I can understand them too. Because I will have some that'll like say some real sideways shit to them, and then I'll say something back to them, and they'll be like, "Oh." So yeah, but they tamper it down when they realize that I'm not just like some idiot. Because the thing with a lot of like immigrants of who come here to America is that they just see black people as just like the bottom of the barrel, just the dumbest, the not very cultured or anything. And it's funny because like when I was going to school, and this school was in the hood, one of the requirements of that school was that you had to take a second language. So it wasn't like a lot of the black students at that school were stupid. They might have been hood, but they weren't stupid. A lot of them were learning a second and third language. So,
Mm.
I mean, there you go.
Well, me personally, I mean, I know a lot of Hispanic brothers. I mean, I know Mexicans, I know Puerto Ricans, I know Cubans. You know, I speak pretty good Spanish. Um, like I said, I know Cubans, I know Puerto Ricans, I know Dominicans. You know, I even know people from El Salvador. I know a couple. You know, because my business travels, I deal with all kinds of people. You know, I deal with Hispanics, I deal with Asians, I deal with white folks, I deal with all kinds of people, and I haven't gotten a lot of so-called discrimination from Hispanics. I've gotten some now. It's not like it hasn't ever happened, but I've got some. Um, Oftentimes, they are a little more. They are a little more subtle with it, depending on where you are. It's depending on where you are, your geographical location. I know down here, I haven't experienced it as much as I did when I lived up north, when I lived in Hudson Valley in New York. Up there, because see, up there, a lot of the Hispanics go for white, if you know what I'm saying. You know, they see themselves as white folks. So they have kind of taken on that same adversarial view of black people as the white people up there. And I've said this often before. I mean, I'm down in the South, and you would think that the South was the most prejudiced, bigoted place in the world. But believe it or not, I didn't see, I haven't seen any type of bigotry or discrimination down here like I saw when I lived upstate New York. Upstate New York has got to be one of the most bigoted freaking areas like in this country. I mean, I've never seen so much bigoted crap as I saw when I lived there. Um, but anyway, the Hispanics up kind of go for white. You know, they literally call themselves white people. So, like I said, they kind of have that animosity towards white people. I mean, black people up there, just like the white people do. Um, and it's sort of like that for the Asians too. If you go into a store, because I've watched, because you know, when I go in the stores, I watch this kind of crap. I've been in a store where an Asian is the merchant of this store, and you see a white boy in there walking around, and I'm also walking around, and you may see other black people and white people in there walking around. And as long as the white boy is in there walking around, they're not saying too much to them, they're not really reaching them or anything like that, right? Now, soon as the white boys leave, they give them a big old smile and they don't say too much to them. But the black people that are in the store, especially if they're younger black people, first thing they're walking around, they're like, "You buy now, leave store." I'm like, that's first thing they say up north. They're like, "You buy now or you leave store." So I mean, is that bigotry? I don't know. It looks like it. It smells like it. It walks like it. It talks like it. So when you see that kind of blatant stuff, because I'm of the mind of this, I believe that in this country that white people could not subjugate black people as much as they do if they didn't have other ethnic groups co-signing it. If y'all know what I mean. I don't believe that they'd be able to do it as much. Of course they would do it because they subjugate them to an extent. It's just that they see more value in them than doing us. But I think that black people would not be subject to as much discrimination and bigotry if other races weren't so quick to co-sign on it. What do you ladies think about that? What's good, Lady Kendra? I see you down there.
Hey, what's up? How are you guys? I
Good,
apologize for my
good.
tardiness. Sorry. Um,
don't worry about it.
Hey
My black
Kendra, how
ass
are
lady
you?
every
mm,
week.
Hey,
They're
girl. Good
late every
evening.
week.
hey, Miss Rubelina. Okay, so since I was tardy, I'll take the question first.
All
Um,
right.
uh, do I believe that if there were not other races ready and willing to subjugate or at least discriminate against Black people, could we be subjugated to the same level? Is that the question?
Yeah, could we be if they weren't so ready and willing to co-sign white folks discrimination?
Actually, I don't think that has anything to do with it because the prejudice doesn't matter. The racism does. And the racism is perpetuated by policy, not by feeling. So we are actually one of the most valuable groups of people to the white supremacist structure. It's only that our value, it can only be had to them while we're under a subjugation because we would have no value outside of that. We would actually be in position to oppose or even overtake without it. So, I mean, because if we think about it, we are a large consumer base. Um, and we are that way as opposed to being a group of people who are relied upon for manufacture. So we're relied upon to be consumers, which actually helps because our money does not circulate in our neighborhoods, it circulates in others' neighborhoods. See, if they didn't have a slave class, how would they operate? It's just that we just so happen to be the slave class. The indoctrination of other races against us via propaganda of the media circulated to them in their countries even before they get here actually simply helps close the door for Black people's um, comeuppance. It helps close the door. And what I mean by that is if the other groups are indoctrinated against us to actually be either afraid of us, which is usually the root of it because the propaganda is YouTube and WorldStar. So what's on YouTube and World Star as far as Black people are concerned? Fighting, violence, and general fuckery. So they have a low opinion of us. Okay. And so their complicitness in the prejudice is just a closing of the door so that we are not invited through them into different industries. You see what I'm saying? So the white man can't control all industries, but if he controls the heads of the industries, then what? You see what I'm saying? So for instance, Black people can't get a segue into the beauty industry because Asians own it, specifically Koreans, right? So if you control the viewpoint of them and skew it against us, guess what they're not willing to do? They're not going to share that industry, not with Black people they won't. You see what I'm saying? So we hold a value to them. We just only hold it as a slave class. It's the policy that actually keeps us where we are. And so instead of the confines being constructed out of steel and concrete, it is constructed out of a clear plexiglass. So we still can't go anywhere. It's just that we don't perceive it anymore because they don't need to do the brutality that they had to do 100 years ago. It's not even necessary. All they have to do, the brutality broke us. The policy keeps us broken.
Say that again. Say that again, Lady Kendra,
The
just in
brutality
case they
broke
didn't
us,
hear it.
but the policy keeps us broken.
Anyone else want to chime in on it?
Um, well, you know what? I think that is correct. That if they weren't there to help, um, basically, Black people wouldn't be as subjugated as they would be. Because if they, sided with Black people and all decided, that white people are really trying to, subjugate people of color altogether, then we could probably do something with more equality. But of course, they don't think like that. The only reason why, they help to subjugate Black people is because, well, it helps them. I guess they see it as, well, at least we're not the ones that are on the bottom. So, you know, we don't really care who's on the bottom, just as long as it's not us. And since everybody's pretty much taking a consensus that it's going to be Black people on the bottom, they don't really care. But then when some shit happens to them, when they get their little wake up calls and realize that they're not really white, you know, you we're talking about certain white people, certain Hispanic people trying to go for white. I see a lot of Cubans in Florida doing that. They'll dye their hair blondes, and they think because they're light enough that they could pass for white. You have your Marco Rubios and shit, But then when they get their wake up call, all of a sudden they want to quote Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and shit.
Isn't that
And then they
funny?
want to be like, Black people, we got to stand together. And it's like, why? Now, of course, you got some Black people who will sit up there and side with them. Like they had this lady who climbed the Statue of Liberty yesterday in protest of like what was going on with the immigrants and the breaking up of the families and shit. And I'm just like, you couldn't do that because some guy got taken away from his family for like a messed up weed charge or something. Like you couldn't do that, but you couldn't do it for when a Black family gets broken up. But when some Latino families get broken up, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I gotta scale the Statue of Liberty. Like that's gonna do something. Like, okay, lady, whatever.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we talked
oh,
about this a little bit last night with Professor Cerulli, and I'm going to go into it a little bit. Go ahead, Lady Classic. Go ahead. You want to answer? Go ahead.
Yes, please. So I really don't think at the end of the day that the issue is any other culture co-signing racism. I think the fact that in the fact that they co-sign racism, this is why immigration has been allowed to be as open and as large as it has been. If they were letting in other cultures, other races of people, and then all everyone was banding together with Black folk, well, then that would make them slowly the minority, and eventually, as the minority, you become the powerless minority. As long as they remain a powerful majority, they are okay with, they don't really care what other people think and feel. They just care that it doesn't superimpose on, their right to be powerful and to be the best. Now, with that being said, most of the people who are coming into this country who don't like Black people aren't doing it because white people here have told them so. They're not co-signing the racism here. They're bringing the hate for darker skin and their racist beliefs. They're bringing them from where they came from here. So they're just still holding up the exact same ideals that they were born and raised with, and they were socialized into. Which is why, for example, you come here and the white people here are less racist and less prejudiced against Black folk than the Asians are. There's a reason for that. It's not because there's some secret covert thing happening with white folk here. It's just simply because the white folk here were kind of brought up in this multicultural stance. So even though they'll have like that underlying racism and prejudice, and if it comes balls to the wall, they pick white people over everyone. And if it comes balls to the wall and someone stole the money, it must be the Black person. But for the most part, live and let live and explore other people's cultures and think everyone else's cultures are really cool. White people are like that here. Now the Asians come, whether they're Indian, from Pakistan, from China, from wherever, and they band together and they're one little culture, and they like the people who are the most similar to them. And they dislike everybody else. But what they all have in common is the fact that within their own cultures, the lighter you are, the better you are. Colonization, obviously, the fact that America has made sure to blast themselves around the world as a powerhouse and as something to aspire to be. Which was just said. I can't remember which one of the ladies said it. You have these little Asian girls with, the blonde hair and the bleaching cream and whatever, because culturally for them, the whiter your skin, the better you are. Same thing with Indians, Pakistanis, the women who are born with naturally light skin or get their skin to the place where they're really light, with the smallest noses, with the biggest eyes, that childlike look, those are the ones who are the most attractive. Those are the ones who get the best husbands and the best life. The lighter you are, the better you are. The darker you are, the worse off you are. And so, when they see us, and the lightest of us is dark to them, as it is, we're already garbage. Even if they had known nothing of Black versus this versus that, just they've been socialized to think the darker your skin is, the poorer you are, the more of, an animal you are, the less refined you are, the less you deserve good things like respect, for example. And that's normal in their societies and in their cultures, this whole caste system. So it's normal for them to spit on a dark skinned person in their culture. They come here, they do the same thing to us, and we are saying, nah, I don't care how normal it is to you. I'm not allowing that to be normal to me. The only thing is, they come to a place where, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of white folk here who like when we do this, and who actually give us, extra privileges, basically, and co-sign us for doing these things. And so, you know what? They actually are being rewarded for their racism and for their prejudice, which, sure, of course, will help them keep the cycle going and not want to let go of their cultures. But with that being said, they had them before they got here. So, I don't really think at the end of the day that, racism is being perpetuated by any individual culture. I think that, it makes sense at the end of the day. If I have a country and it's all Black folk and I want us to remain powerful and as the majority, and I want white people to be basically second class citizens, I'm gonna open up my doors to people who are gonna come in And it's either you're going to be on my side or you're against me. And if you're against me, then I'm going to put you as a second class citizen, and I'm not going to let much of y'all in, because I want to make sure we remain powerful, we remain the best, and we have second class citizens, so that way I can still be a first class citizen.
Yeah, it's crazy because you see these immigrants, because a lot of them have gotten a wake up call since Mr. Trump has got into the big chair. Not just Hispanics, but also people from Muslim countries. They have gotten their wake up call because of a lot of those people from Muslim countries, in an Asian area, they too have a tendency to go for white. And Donald Trump has shown them that they are not. Uh, when he was trying to keep uh, the Muslim countries from entering America, I saw a few, not a lot, but I saw a few snippets where they were saying, we as black people should be joining them, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. You also have not just them now. We're gonna go into that too. um you also have, the immigrants and the people who are related to the immigrants. They're saying that black people, we should be showing solidarity with them. Also, the Native American, the American Indians, when they had that big thing and the government wanted to run this big oil pipe down through their reservation, they were like, oh, our African American brothers and sisters should stand with us. Now, see, this is the problem that I have with this. um we go through all kinds of shit in this country as black folks, okay? And all the black folks listening and all the black folks on this panel understand that clearly. There's never anyone standing with us when we go through shit, and we go through shit that's 1,000 times horrific. Somebody wanting to run an oil pipe through our yard or through our land, uh as someone not letting our family member come to America, or even as much as separating our babies from us. We go through shit that's 1,000 times horrific than that. But somehow, some way, they always want to call on us to come stand with them, because somehow that's the one time that they can kind of relate to us. Me and Professor Cerulean was speaking about this a little last night, when they say, well, we should be sticking together because, we're going through the same stuff that you guys went to. And the only thing you can do about that is say, bullshit. No, you're not. No, you're not. So that during those times is when they want to show some type of collectivism with us. But any other time, they often have the same they often have the same kind of animus and disdain and prejudice against us as white folks do. It's just that they're not as powerful as white folks, so they can't really impose their prejudices and their bigotry and their discrimination as much as white folks can. Because if they could, they probably would. Um, but let me ask you ladies this. If we as black folks, right? We as black folks, if we were to, and many of us do, if we were to pick up these causes of the immigrants, and pick up the causes of the American Indians and people from far east Muslim countries, do you really think that they would give a damn an iota more about us, because I'm a true believer that they just like to use us for our numerical strength. They use us for our numbers, and once the whatever the situation is gone, that's it. They're right back to calling us niggers just like everybody else. I mean, I've heard Hispanic people call black people niggers. Okay. I've heard Asian people say it. I've heard it with my own ears. So, and this is something else. I don't know if you ladies have experienced this, and I'll get to my question in a minute. I often talk the shit I talk on here. I often talk the shit in my business when I'm in my shop and I'm on the road. I talk this same kind of shit, and I've often spoke about the things that go on with black people, like police killings and the criminal justice system and law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. I talk about these things with people that I come in contact with in business. And often I probably come in contact with Hispanic people more than I do anybody else. Hispanics and whites are like my main constituency. I have a few Asians here and there, but it's mostly Hispanics and whites. All right. Now, when I talk this kind of shit to people, Hispanics, not white folks, when I talk this kind of shit to Hispanics, the first thing they say is, "Oh man, I'm black just like you. I'm black too." I've heard an Asian person say that shit before. They say, "Oh, I'm black too." Right? Now, they will say that when they're around me, of course. "Oh, I black too." But they know goddamn well when they're sitting around their kitchen table, they are not claiming black. They're just not. I don't care. And I tell them that. I'm like, "Man, you saying that shit because you in front of me. When you sitting around your goddamn table, you're probably not even claiming Asian. You're not even claiming Hispanic." So you're definitely not claiming black. Um, but what do you ladies think? Let me ask you ladies this. What do you ladies think about black people? Okay? People from the African continent that come here, okay? And blacks from South America, because us black folks, we everywhere. Blacks from South America, and even some black folks who may come from Asia. What do you think about the black folks who are off the shores of the United States when they come here and they pick up that mantra? Because, hey, I've ran into those too. What's your take on the black folks who have picked up that, you know, American black folks ain't shit kind of thing? What's your take on those people?
Well, I think of them as the same way I think of like a lot of the Hispanic and Asian immigrants. See, like I'm cool with black immigrants from other countries as long as they don't say a bunch of like anti-black stuff. But if they're sitting up there sounding just like the Asians, just like the white people and stuff, and like some of the Hispanics, I'm all like, well, kind of makes y'all even worse, because the thing is, when you come over here, you're seen as black too by other people. You might be seen as kind of like a little bit different if you let it be known and stuff, but you know to sit up there and try to separate yourselves and then you don't even like know anything about black Americans except for what the propaganda says and stuff, I think it's kind of messed up.
Well, here's my take on it because we had an individual a couple of weeks ago on a BGS hangout essentially tell us that they are culturally superior to the
Mm.
Black American. And to be quite honest, that ticked me all the way off because, especially if you're not a first generation immigrant where, you've grown up across, you know, outside of the United States. So if you came directly from Africa or from South America or from an island or wherever, and you're first generation, I can see how you would not necessarily relate to the American black culturally, because culturally you are different than the American black. I can understand that. I get that. That's obvious to me. But if you were born and raised here, despite your parents or your grandparents being immigrants or them raising you in their culture, if you were born and raised in America, then you are Americanized, even if your particular culture is intact. So to say that you are culturally superior to the American black is an affront, because if you hear something in the background, they still busting firecrackers and M80s. But I apologize for that noise. But anyways, if you were born and raised here in America, I've got news. You're a nigger. You're a
Mhm.
nigger. I don't care if you speak another language. I don't care if you have a different culture according to your lineage. I don't care if you can go back to your homeland. I don't care. As long as you are in the borders of the United States of America, you are a nigger, and you will be treated as such no matter what is happening. Because if it's all said and done, you will be grouped with the niggas that you can't stand, the ones that you are culturally superior over, or so you believe. So I don't actually have a problem with melanated immigrants, which is why, you know, like when we talk about Muslims, because Muslim is not a race, I don't group all Muslims together, because Islam crosses cultural and racial and national bounds. So there's a whole group of African Muslims. It's a whole group of Muslims. You know what I'm saying? It's not just Arabs or Indian, Pakistan, or or even Asian. Um, so I don't have a problem with any of my melanated immigrant brothers and sisters coming over here, as long as they don't try to display that superiority to me. That's gonna get a different reaction. I accept difference, but I don't accept superiority. Our culture is broken, but that's not our fault. And that's kind of the sense that I get sometimes, like, well, you guys' culture is broken. What are you going to do to fix it? This is your fault. It's like, actually, it's not. And since you don't know how it has been for us and the different pathologies that we deal with generationally, I don't think you can speak on it. I think you need to fall back, actually, since you see yourself as separate.
Okay. Well, me being, and so I just wanted to just, not to correct you or anything, Kendra, but just to say, so the people who were born elsewhere and come here, even as kids or whatever, they're landed immigrants. Their citizenship is different. Whereas I'm first generation, so I was the first generation born here, and I'm first generation from Jamaica. So on one side, and it's interesting because I think that, Kendra, you really hit the nail on the head as far as what the issue is. And I think that it's and excuse me because I know y'all are all American, so I'm not trying to say anything offensive here. And if I do, I apologize. I love you all. You know that. So the thing is, I don't think that the problem in and of itself is to say, well, culturally, as far as having a culture, identifying with one or whatever, my culture is superior. I don't necessarily see an issue with that. I do see an issue with the blame or the fault laying, as in to say, well, it's y'all's fault that, your culture is broken. It's y'all's fault that you don't have an established culture like we do. It's y'all's fault that y'all don't have a homeland to go to or whatever. Like, I think that that's ridiculous. And so I think, when I see my family, for example, talking about lazy Canadians and lazy Americans, and they call me lazy too. I'm lazy in comparison to them. And when I go to Jamaica, like when I go back home, I look at it and I'm like, God damn, we are lazy. Goddamn, we are broken here. And I mean, yeah, when I come here, and I look at, the kids who were born, say in Canada. Canada is different, because we're all, most of us, first or second generation. We're landed immigrants. We don't really have the people who are descended from freed slaves in Canada. So when I look at it and I look at just, what I think that they're talking about, our culture is about hard work. Our culture is about, sacrifice and a bunch of other things, that, Canadian, North American, westernized cultures don't have, which in and of itself is broken. When when I go to, back home, and I see like the men and the women, they get up first thing in the morning. Like I get up at the crack of dawn and they're already doing things. Like I think it's crazy. When that rooster crows, and I do mean a real rooster, they really get up and they're doing stuff. And are they living there? Are they going out to the clubs? Are they doing this and that? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just, life is so different. So I can see slash understand when, landed immigrants come, as Kendra was saying, them taking a look and being like, what the hell is going on here? What is wrong with y'all? Because there's a lot of talk, when you're in Jamaica, about white people. White people are this and white people are that. I know I do it too, where I'll say, white people, don't clean their meat properly. White people are lazy. White people are this. And so then they come to America, or they come to Canada, and they see us doing it too. And so for them, it's kind of like why are you acting like the white people? They don't understand that it's not about acting like white people. It's about acting like, the Western world, the way the Western world has, indoctrinated us and bred us and raised us. And, speaking as someone who is first generation now, I can say when I look at it, the Western world has, indoctrinated me. I am lazy. I am a zennial. Almost slipped up there, cats. I am a zennial. In that top of that millennial generation. So I see it in myself, and it doesn't really matter that culturally I still adhere to things like, like say our foods and our music and our this and our that and all those things. And it doesn't matter that I'm going to raise my kids slightly differently than, say, the Western world would, in some ways. When I look at it, I'm like, Black folk still do those things here. It's just you see the mark of westernization all over it. And, that is broken. But, to suggest on any level that Black folk who, had to try to build societies and cultures of their own while living under, the oppression of white supremacy, while living under this system that is literally made to knock them down and to thrive over it again and again. And the white folk who were the majority in the power come and rip it out from under you and then be like, yeah, figure it out now. Ha, figure it out now. Ha, figure it out now. Eventually, unfortunately, because every time the entire, culture is going to be completely fractured, all the people are going to be fractured, and they're going to have to try to recover again and again. Eventually, it was going to come to a place where we can't recover anymore. Now, when I look at it from the other perspective, I look at Jamaicans. We've never really had that happen to us. So to me, what I look at is, well, why aren't we more advanced then? Because we've never had anyone break us down and we have to rebuild ourselves. We started rebuilding from emancipation, basically. Sure, there was some time of unrest and having to try to figure things out, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what it came down to is we should be further along. So we work hard, not smart. And we don't have that ability the way that, Black Americans did, to the things that they were able to do, build Black Wall Street. I don't see that happening in the West Indies. I don't see that happening in Africa. So, if you really take a look, if they stop and take a look at more than how hard do people work, how much do they sit there and smile while happily living under oppression and making $7 an hour, several dollars under minimum wage an hour, et cetera, et cetera. That's not really a measurement of some personal failure. If anything, I think that's a measurement of people who have stood up again and again and again, a lineage that stands up and says, okay, no more, again and again and again, and is not willing to settle for less and just be content. So, I do think that there is, I mean, especially those who come from the Caribbean, there's a broken mentality there that you can think on any level that you're doing better because you're not. And Africa, to me, is even worse because, again, why aren't you better off than you are? There's no one sitting there living in your country and demolishing you again and again. So really, aren't you electing your own people, your own leaders, your own this, your own that, and you're under your own free control, and yet you haven't advanced further? Why don't we have you to latch on to? Why don't we have you to build a model for us and then come and, as a continent, all of you can come and fight for Black folk everywhere else? So, I do think there's a lot of hypocrisy, and there's a lot of self hate that revolves around Black people in general, and we need to find someone to kick. We're all at the bottom of the barrel, all of us, and we know that we are. So, what we want to do is we want to separate ourselves and we want to kick someone else. And the only way we can do that is by separating ourselves from, say, Black Americans or from Africans or from Haitians or whoever, and then kick them because they're worse than us. So that's what I think honestly is going on, and I do think that it's something that by the time you get to the third generations or so, they start realizing, maybe that was a little bit stupid, a little bit wrong, but you know, you got to get there a little bit faster for those people who are listening, who are first, second generation like myself. You got to get there a little bit faster because we got to do better.
Yeah, well, when you talk about America, now this is something that I honestly believe, and I know I have a few Hispanic people that listen to me. I don't know if I have Asians listen to me, but I know that there's no people in the goddamn United States who have endured, who have dealt with, who have felt the tyranny, the horror of subjugation the way Black people have in this country. Hands down. I don't care what anyone says. All right. So, that being said, with all the shit that America has done to Black people, I think that if anyone, anyone, no matter where they come from, no matter what language they speak, or whether they're Hispanic or Asian, or they come from South America or one of the Caribbean islands, whatever, I don't think any other ethnic group should be trying to quote unquote subjugate by proxy Black folks, because I feel that we have gone through enough and we still go through said subjugation here now. So the last thing we need is Asians, Hispanics, and freaking people from everywhere else trying to not only pick up the the practice of white supremacy, even though they're not white. All right. Because see, when you have people like this, when you have other groups trying to see Black people as these beneath them people, these downtrodden people, these people who are inferior, what these people are really doing is they're picking up the mantle of the white power structure. They're picking up the mantle of white supremacy, right? Whether it be by propaganda that they've seen when they were in their country, or ideals that they picked up from being in this country. Now, the people who are usually the most guilty of this, I believe, are the people who know the history of Black people in this country. They know the shit that Black people have went through in this country. And a lot of these people say, oh, you Black people, are complaining. Oh, you black people are lazy. Oh, slavery was a long time ago. And yada yada go on. It'll go on and on and on and on and on. But that being said, don't you think, wouldn't you think that people who know the struggles that black people endure, because in this country, we still have a tendency to struggle under the same kind of discriminatory practices that we struggled under 50, 60, 70 years ago. Now you'll hear people say that it's gotten better. I don't think that it's gotten better. I think that black people have gotten better. That's what I believe. I don't really believe prejudice and bigotry and racism has gotten better. What I believe is that black people have gotten better with dealing with it. That's my belief, but the hell do I know? Us getting better at dealing with it, I think that in itself has I don't want to say fueled some of the racism and bigotry of other ethnic groups, but I think it has assisted, because I've seen myself, not to, get anecdotal, but I've seen it myself where some Hispanics and Asians, and also blacks from other continents, blacks from Africa, they have seen a black person kind of pull himself up out of meager beginnings, and they too uh come off as, this Negro is uppity, this Negro thinks he's better, or whatever the case may be, because they may see a black man from America actually doing something with himself, especially if he's doing something that they are not. Okay. Because what I believe really controls people's racial animosity is more so economics than anything else. When people see black people who actually have something, they may look at these black people a little different. Because I believe even in these groups, when we talk about blacks from off the shores of America, and Asians and Hispanics, some poor kid living in the ghetto, even if they have these discriminatory things going on in their mind, they look at him different than they look at, say, an Oprah Winfrey or a Jay-Z or a Floyd Mayweather. Okay, it's almost as if they are dividing the black race themselves by what? Economic status, economic caste, if you will. So I think a lot of that is behind it as well. But let me put this across to you ladies, right? Now, women have a tendency to see a lot of bigotry and discrimination, just like us black men do. Okay. I think that black men, we have a tendency to endure it more, because I think that we are more of a threat. We are seen more as the outsider. I've noticed when I'm places with my wife goes into a store, white folks, Asian folks, Hispanic folks, they kind of give her the fake smiles and the kind of fake friendly. But once I walk in, things change. It's different. The whole vibe has changed, because it's like they're actually looking at my wife like, oh, she done brought her nigger in here. It's like, because once I come in on the scene, now they see her as a nigger too, because see, a nigger just walked in and she's with them, if y'all can understand what I'm saying. So let me ask you ladies this. Do you find that you have, and we'll talk about white folks too, do you feel that you you endure more kind of discrimination and bigotry when you're around other black folks, particularly black men, than you do when you say, you're like by yourself, you're out, you women, y'all go out and y'all shop and do shit like that, by yourselves? Do you see it more with yourselves when you're, say, with your man, your husband, your boyfriend, your brother, your whatever, than you do when you're alone?
Well, I for one do not. Um, I don't have my features. As far as my features are concerned, I can look a lot of different races just depending on how my hair is, if I've, gotten a little bit darker because of the sun, what I'm wearing, whatever. So actually, when I am around black people, doesn't matter dark skin, light skin, doesn't matter from where. Um, I'm really treated based on how I look as an individual. And so that is to say, for example, like now, my hair, I don't have any, fake hair in it. So, I don't have like the dreads or a weave or something. So it's very obvious because my hair is 4C type and I wear it in the big puffs normally and whatever, that I'm clearly black. I'm not half black. I'm not whatever. It's clearly black. Like when they see 4C hair, even if you were half black, half something, if you see 4C hair, it's you're unadulteratedly black. And when they see my hair, that's when I'm treated differently. So it doesn't really matter. I could be in a group of white girls or whatever. I am treated based on the way I look, and the blacker that I look to them, the more that they can identify me as black, not racially ambiguous, not maybe half something, not Indian. The more that they identify me as black, the more that I will get that kind of racism and bigotry.
I don't notice any differences one way or another, um, whether I was with my husband or not. Um, yeah, I didn't notice anything different. If they were gonna discriminate, they did it. But my discrimination was twofold. I was either gonna be discriminated because I was a black woman and there's a stigma attached to that, or discriminated because I was Muslim and there's a negative stigma attached to that. So, when I used to go places with my husband, that more or less would have been the stigma. Look at this big black Muslim dude, because my husband dressed like a traditional Muslim. It's a big beard, kufi, and he's like 6'2". So, and walking in right behind me. So it's like, oh God, look at these two terrorists or whatever. The color went out the window. It became terrorists more so. Um, and then once it became terrorists rather than black people, we were discriminated against, or talked crazy to by other black people, because then it becomes they think you're foreign when you
Mm.
dress like a Muslim. Now all of a sudden we're not American. So I actually got more flack from black people than I did from other races actually dressing as a Muslim. So I be having to check them. I be having to check black people for that. You know what I'm saying? Like when I go to other places, I don't necessarily have to check people for being discriminatory based on my race, because they know how to do it now. They're very subtle. And if I'm not gonna be directly bothered by it right then and there, then I won't even waste time with trying to confront it. You know what I'm saying?
Um, I think it depends on the age of the people. Um, Usually, if it's like younger white people, they'll be cooler to me. If I'm by myself, but if it's like me and a black guy or me and a couple of my black friends, all of a sudden, they don't want to speak anymore, right? But like with older people of any race, it really doesn't matter if a guy or not. It's, well, she's black, so I'm just gonna be if they're gonna be like what Kendra said, if they're gonna be discriminatory, they're gonna be discriminatory. So I think it depends on the age sometimes.
I agree. I totally agree. And I also agree that we need some likes in this here section right here, because y'all know I don't like the watch numbers to exceed the like numbers. Come on, hit that like button. If you're not going to hit the button on the way in, at least hit it on the damn way out. Right up in here, it's right there. Don't make me do it, because if you want me to, I will. That's what y'all want. Let's do this. We haven't done this in a while, so maybe you've forgotten how to do it. I want you to take that hand nice and slowly. You remember, it's just like riding a bicycle. Move it over nice and slow. Get it right over that button and click, and you're done. Also, if you're feeling generous, drop a few coins in this here bucket. You know, if you're not gonna drop a few likes in there, at least drop a few coins in there. But if you're feeling really generous, drop a few coins in there and drop a few likes in there. Trust me, it's greatly appreciated. Trust me, it is. Well, ladies, let's talk. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the I don't want to say subjugation. Um, let's talk about discrimination. Um, the bigotry and the prejudice of our own, not the people from another continent. I'm talking about people from right up the road. Uh, as you ladies know, you ladies are in media, on media. You know that there are many of us who have a tendency to kind of distance ourselves from black people. Many of us talk as if we're not black at all. Uh, we often say those people, them people. Something I've always tried to stay away from, because I'm quick to say we, us, because my black ass is included in it too. But let's talk about some of our people. Like Lady Kendra just finished saying that she has felt discrimination from just regular old everyday black folks. Okay. Now, do you ladies believe this? I'm going to ask you this question, a question similar that I asked you earlier. Do you believe it would be easier for black people to resist uh, white supremacy, the white power structure, subjugation? Do you think that we would have a better position to fight it from if we didn't have so much discrimination amongst us? And I don't mean just colorism, because we know that exists amongst us. Okay, I don't mean just that. That's a total different show. But I'm talking about, like Lady Kendra had referred to, the experiences that she has had. Because many of us black people, we think we have these prejudicial views against other black people who may dress different, or have a different religion than ours, have a different culture than ours, a different belief system than ours. Um, we have a tendency to have this superiority thing going on, where we think other black people are inferior to us. I've actually heard black folks say that they are better than other black folks. I've actually heard that with my own black ears. What do you think our position as black people would be if so much of this didn't exist, if you didn't have our own black people kind of co-signing the white folks talking points, the white folks point of view, the white folks ideology. What do you ladies think our position would be far as being able to fight back against the subjugation?
I think we be in a position to organize because that's what we lack. We lack a mission statement, a general idea of what we are actually fighting against and what we intend to achieve. So we don't have a clear pic. Many of us don't have a clear picture of that. We don't know what that is. We know there's a system. Well, some of us know there's a system that needs to be removed so that we can move forward. But then you have a good percentage of Black people who will repeat the same talking points. We see it every day on YouTube. Every day. You know what I'm saying? The coons, the bed wenches, we see them saying things like, does white supremacy exist? To even ask the question is to answer it. So first we would have to pretty much get rid of these types of people. We're all a group of people are always going to have differences, strife among them. There's no group of people who all think the same and all get along on all levels all the time. That is not realistic. That is not how the world works. That is not how groups work. But what other groups have that we don't is code. And code comes from a singular, a monolithic mindset, which doesn't mean that we all think the same thing all the time. It means that we all see the bigger picture the same. We can actually step back and see the forest in spite of the trees. Other groups are able to do that, which is why they can be on code, which is why they can actually group together. Because if you don't think Asians have issues among each other, you're crazy. If you don't think white people have all kinds of issues among each other, Arabs got all kind of issues, Indo-Pacs got all kind of issues. All groups have issues among themselves. It will never be completely eradicated. However, they all have one mindset when it comes to certain things. They all want to achieve certain things. They all have a sense of togetherness on some level. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't come for a Jew without facing all the Jews. Like you can't. You can't come for all the Koreans without backlash from the Koreans. You know what I'm saying? So, but you can come for Black people and we may or may not stick together on stuff. Just like for instance, the guy Stephon Clark was shot and killed by a police officer, and because some people didn't like what he had to say about Black women, suddenly he was unworthy to be defended. But the point is not whether or not we're not to defend people we like. We're defending against it because it is wrong. We don't want the precedent to continue to be set that it can happen. And then we turn around and be selective as to who we're going to defend in the same situation based on whether or not we liked the stuff that they posted on Facebook. See, people got caught up with that. It doesn't matter whether we like the individual or not. It's not the point. Point was, we don't like to see our innocent, unarmed Black people, mainly men, being shot in the street by police officers who are to uphold the law, which is different from them being shot in the street by a criminal, because a criminal is a criminal. They're liable to do shit like that. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is the thing. Now, when we do that kind of stuff, and then I'll let you ladies answer, but I want to say this: when we do that kind of stuff, aren't we just picking up the white man's goddamn mantra again? Because that's the same thing white people do. When when a police officer shoots a black man, the first thing they do is they put his record public. There's he had a criminal record. Oh, he's been to prison. Oh, he had drugs in his system and all this kind of crap. So why would we turn around and do the same thing? Oh, well, he said bad things about black people. Oh, he had an Asian wife. We're doing the same thing. We are picking up white man's talking points because that's the same thing they do when the cops kill someone. The first thing they do is if the guy's got a criminal record, they put that out there. If the guy's had drugs in his system, they put that out. They put that out there. If the guy's ever been arrested, anything, they go ahead and put that shit out there. So when we do that, we are doing the same exact shit that white folks do. We have to realize that. Okay. When people start to pick up the traits of the people who have them under subjugation, something is fucking wrong. But go ahead, ladies.
Okay. Dang, what was the question before that Kendra was answering?
Oh, I was saying, damn, I done forgot this shit too. I was
Oh,
Basically, he
saying,
there
said,
she was breaking it
if
down.
we stopped
yeah, if we didn't,
discriminating among each other and having
yes,
all these issues, were we in a better
yes,
position to oppose the system of white
yes.
supremacy?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
American black folks. If we weren't so discriminatory and thank you, Lady Kendra. If we weren't so discriminatory and prejudiced against each other as black folks in this country, would we be in a better position to fight subjugation?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Because it would, first of all, I find it absolutely ridiculous how much black people kind of just shit on each other in front of other groups of people. If you have your criticisms of, another black person because of, the way they think or, the way they look or whatever, you can say that amongst each other. It looks ridiculous when you have other groups of people watching you, just tear each other down like that. And this is part of the reason why a lot of people just don't have any respect for black people, because it looks like we don't have any respect for each other and respect for ourselves just by how much we tear each other down in front of the whole world like that. And then it also goes into organization. You know, a lot of black people don't trust each other. That's the main reason why we can't get organized for anything. And even if somebody does have a really good idea, you'll have a bunch of other people like, I'm not following that person because I don't like the way their shoes look, or because I don't like the way they talk, or whatever million other reasons. It just fucks up the organization, and just goes into a whole bunch of other stuff. But Kendra explained it so well. I can't really expound upon it anymore. I 100% agree with her. It would help us more if we focused on more of our similarities instead of our differences.
Well, I think a big issue, and one that Probably people will A, disagree with me, and B, will never do. But I think a bigger issue, that we, especially being in this country, listening to all of the stereotypes and the prejudices, that are against us, and all of the bullshit and all of the ridiculous ass things that are said about us, and disparaging things that are said about us, and generalized to the group over, sometimes just over making shit up, sometimes over one or two people. I don't mean just crime and criminality. I just mean the things in general that they say about us. And the thing is we'll hear that, we'll be like, wow, that's bullshit, or wow, that's terrible, or that's, what a racist pig, or whatever it is. But then we will do it to other people. So in essence, we are already in practice of, on one side, saying, well, it's racist and it's wrong when it happens to me, but it's okay if I do it to others. And so because we're in that practice of, trying to, in essence, classify and denigrate other people, it's very easy to then take people who don't look exactly like you, but are your kid, your skin folk, and say, well, that person is lesser than me. People who do that are lesser than me. People who look this way are lesser than me. People who don't think the way I think are lesser than me. Um, People don't have the same amount of money, education, whatever it is. Regardless of, you hear these idiots all the time talking about how much better they are than everyone else because of the circumstances they were lucky enough to be born into. So, I think that, we're in the practice. It feels good to be on top. And, again, we're at the bottom of the barrel. What do? We try to find other people to be below us. That's why it makes it so easy to turn around and be racist pigs, but to other people, and then say, I'm not being racist, I'm just speaking the truth. Okay, sure. Except you're being racist, because if you ask a white person, that's their answer too. So, at the end of the day, what we need to do is we need to stop trying to classify others who really are other, in those ways, and realize what it is that we're engaging in and we're practicing. And then, you know what, from there, it's not going to be such an easy practice for us to then, try to do the same thing to one another. Because as long as all we are doing, as Cousin Kendra said, as long as all we're doing is finding differences, why are we different, and how does that make me better somehow? Then we are sitting there and literally fueling the system of white supremacy. Why is it that, despite whatever issues they have, why is it that other cultures, like the Jewish one, for example, like the Chinese, come here and they remain intact that way? Is because there's just simply a collectivist mindset, that even if I know my brother, I mean, and I do mean literally just the guy standing next to me, but looks like me a little bit. Even if I know my brother is bad at math, then we are bad at math. So therefore, I need him to be better at math. I don't need to be better than him. I don't need the world to know, well, I was the one who got an A and he got a D minus, because I look at it like when he fails, I fail. It's collectivist. We have this individualistic mindset in the Western world, and we engage in it fully, and we don't realize, how destructive it is to us as a collective, because we need to have that collectivist mindset. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter. Given the way society is, it doesn't matter that Black folk have been here, 400 years slavery, some immigrants and whatever. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the system is set up in such a way that you literally need to think about it the way immigrants do. And all those immigrants are coming from collectivist countries, come here with a collectivist mindset, and they're not looking at why is it that I should win as an individual? I want to be the best. I'm going to be better. Oh, great. My neighbor sucks in comparison to me. Haha, I win. We need to stop thinking like that. We need to start looking at it and saying, well, if he wins, then I lost. Every single time one of my own loses, I lose. And as a group, as a collective, I was at a 5, now I'm at a 4, and that's it. And that is actually my social identity, but we don't want to see it like it's my social identity. We want to see it like we're seen as individuals. And you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We really aren't. So we need to stop wanting to focus on that, because as long as we continue to focus on that, The only thing that is going to thrive is the system of white supremacy. It's never going to be us.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that many times that, you know, minorities, if you will, all shades of brown and black and yellow and whatever other damn color you can think of. When it comes to white people, I think they kind of look at all of us um as subjugated subjects at times. Um I think that they come to us, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, black folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks. I think they come to us um, just like other groups do for our numerical strength, like in an election season when they need votes, when they need people to stand behind whatever cause that they have going on. I think that white people have a tendency to want to use our numerical strength just like others have a tendency to do. But I also believe that many in the white power structure, or the white power structure circle, if you will, I think that they look at many of us, not just black people, they look at others um, as less than, as inferior to them. I truly believe that, which is why I'm puzzled when these other groups have a tendency to sign on with the white folks BS and pick up their mantra. Because when it comes down to it, they would rather have none of us here if they could. None of us. I mean, it's not like they would because if they started today shipping black folks off of this damn continent, somebody would be next, whether it would be Hispanics or Asians. Somebody would be next being shipped off. It wouldn't be like, well, we've got rid of all the black people, so that's it, we're finished. No. Someone else would be next. So when you have people who don't understand, see, this is my thing. I think that people have a tendency to think that in this country, because make no mistake, we all know that this country is ran by a white power structure. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Okay, that can't be denied. Now, if you are not part of that, you're probably a quote unquote minority. So, what would make anybody who falls under the cloak of minority think that they are somehow more advantaged or have more of a better place in American society just because they're not black? It's almost as if people want to say they're not black, and I'm talking about people who are black who are actually saying they're not black. Now I'm talking about those people. It's almost as if they think by saying they're not black that somehow separates them from the black issues, from the black crisis, from the effects of the white power structure on black people. And they are delusional to believe that, because trust me, if I can't walk down a certain street, your ass can't walk down a certain street, brother. All right. If there's certain parts of town that I can't go in, there's certain parts of town that you can't go in. And that doesn't just hold for black people. There are places down here. I know I'm in the South. Okay. Now, I know that I said I've seen less bigotry and discrimination since I've been down here, but I haven't seen zero of it. All right. There are places down here that my black ass probably don't want to be caught dead in. And guess what? Those same places, you better not be Hispanic walking down through there either. And you probably don't want to be Asian walking down through there either. Okay? So don't get it twisted, because in America, they kind of look at all of us as niggas. Yeah, they kind of look at all of us like that. I mean, you may have an Asian background, you may have a Hispanic background, but trust me, there are places where white folks think we're all just niggers. Keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. But let me ask you, ladies, this. If, say, we as black people, right? And you know us black people, like I said, we are all over the place. Okay. We everywhere. We on every damn continent. Okay. We in every country. We everywhere. You'll find some of our black asses in places like Russia, where you think you wouldn't find no black folks. They're there. Now, I'm sure that they have endured a lot of subjugation, basically because of their skin color. Do you ladies believe that that subjugation of these black folks in other countries, on other continents, do you think that that subjugation is a product of that particular country that they're in? Or are these countries mimicking the practices of the United States?
I don't know if it's necessarily them mimicking the United States, but I will say that I have noticed that a lot of them do the same stuff that is done in the United States in terms of, I guess, like what you said, skin color and stuff. I just don't know if the United States started it or if the United States maybe even be copying other countries. But I have noticed that, like, yeah, in most countries, lighter skinned people get more resources, more opportunities, and stuff like that. It goes back to the whole caste system thing. A lot of people like to call it colorism, but it's really a caste system. And colorism is just I guess, a pretty way of saying it. And, you know, I've noticed it in other countries. They try to make it seem like it's a specifically a United States thing, but I've seen it happening in other countries. I just don't know if the United States was the one that started it.
Well, we have a tendency to think of white supremacy only in the context of the United States. What we forget is that he's a colonizer. We can't actually forget that. That's been going on for thousands of years. So when we look at places like India and Pakistan, who are divided in a caste system by color, who do we think started that? How do you get a bunch of melanated people to be light skinned? What do you do? What do you do to them? You breed with them, and then you breed and then you breed contempt for the darker skin along with it. That has a different effect, whereby it's basically a divide and conquer type of situation. You take a homogenous people and then make them perceive themselves as not homogenous based upon skin color and possibly phenotype. So that's not exclusive to the United States. These people have been colonizing folk for the last few thousand years. If anything, the United States is almost a perfection of it. Certainly not the beginning of it. It's like the United States does it for the modern day, like the modern day colonizer. Um, so we definitely should. I don't think that other people are copying the United States. It's the same colonizer going to different places doing the same program because the program works.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please? I stepped away.
I was saying that, there's, black people, we're all over, we're everywhere. We're in every country on pretty much every continent. And black people endure a lot of, discriminatory things and subjugation and things of that nature. Do you believe that these other countries are imitating, are they mimicking the United States, or is that just something they've got going on in their country?
Yeah, no, I don't think that they are mimicking the United States. I mean, all you got to do is watch, and I mean, I don't watch things specifically on the caste system in India or whatever. I watch documentaries though. I watch a lot of them, and you can see it in their own cultures. This idea, even amongst themselves, that the darker you are, the more that you're dirt. Girl could have beautiful symmetrical features, a wonderful body, etc., etc. But if she has dark skin, she's hideous, she's gross, she's not desirable at all. Darker skinned girls in that part of Asia literally have no hope at being thought of as beautiful, regardless of what they look like. Even if they came here, and we would think that they were gorgeous, even if based on golden ratios, they're beautiful. That skin color is so important in so much of the world. And again, white is right. The closer to white you are, the more beautiful you are. As Kendra said, colonization. It happened. It didn't just happen here. And that effect has been very widespread. So I don't really think that there are really any cultures, except for maybe our own, that are trying to imitate white people. I think it's just a direct translation. At the end of the day, even if they looked at all of us as being exactly the same from the same race, and we're all human and whatever, they still think the darker your skin are, the more that you are garbage. The less you deserve in life, the less beautiful you are, the less successful you'll be, the less intelligent you are. I mean, they attribute all kinds of things to skin color, just like, white supremacy and white racism does. So I think that it really does originate in their own countries, and all they're doing is bringing their culture here, and that's part of their culture.
Sorry, ladies, I had to step up for a second. The damn dog in the backyard barking like a motherfucker. Had to go and see what the hell's going on back there. Because he's not really much of a barker. So when he's barking, something's going on back there. So, um, well, this is my thing. This is what really bothers me more than anything else. When we as black people, it bothers me when black people pick up white folks talking points. That bothers the hell out of me too. But what bothers me just as much as that is when we as black people, we have a tendency to not only just pick up the white folks talking points, pick up the white folks kind of ideologies. It's when we pick up the white folks view of us. I often say, we have a tendency to look at each other through the white man's eyes. Um, that bothers me like crazy because you can't look at me through white folks' eyes if you're black. Because see, you're also getting looked at through white folks' eyes. Because see, those eyes are on white people. So when I see that kind of shit, that shit bothers me probably more than anything else. It's one thing to have Asians and Hispanics and even, black folks from other countries and continents come here and think lesser of us. I think it's really a problem when people right here think lesser of us as black people. And you have people who think lesser of black people. And when I say black people, I'm not just talking about uh, uh, criminal black people, or quote unquote thug black people, or impoverished black people. I'm not even talking about those kind of black people. I'm talking about, you have people who think that just the normal run of the mill black people are beneath them. Um and usually it has a tendency to do with background, or maybe money, but not necessarily. Geographical location, where they actually feel that other black people are inferior to them simply because they're black. uh I've heard people like Jesse Jackson say that when he's walking down the street and he hears people behind him, he says he's actually relieved when he looks back there and they're white. Um, he's also said that he's known to to cross the other side of the street when he sees young black folks heading his way. So when you hear that kind of shit, okay, when you hear that kind of shit, now don't get me wrong, okay, I'm in and out of New York City all the time. All right. And I be in the hood. All right. I be in Bed-Stuy. I be in Brownsville. I be in the Bronx. I be in Far Rock. I be in the hood. All right. In the hood when I go to New York. And I walk those streets, because I park my car. You don't do a lot of driving in New York City. And I walk those streets and I see things that kind of make me take a double look. But I'm never I'm never to the point where I'm afraid, or I'm scared, or I need to get the hell out of there, or nothing like that, because I don't feel like I should be like that around my own goddamn people. Regardless of what else is going on around there, I just don't feel like I should be like that around my own people. I mean, my wife is from Bed-Stuy, do or die Bed-Stuy. So, I ain't scared of being around my folks. I ain't scared of being around people in the hood. So when I hear people say shit like that, that in itself plays a part in the subjugation of black people. Because if we have a segment of us who have these kind of feelings towards other people in our group, when we have when we have a segment of black folk who think that, well, I'm scared of these people. Oh, I wish they were white, and I'm relieved when I look behind me and there's white people back there instead of black people. That kind of shit perpetuates the said subjugation, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Um, it's like I said, I mean, you have other groups who think whatever they want to think about black people. I think that it's a bigger problem when we think that way about each other. So let me ask you ladies this. Have you ever found yourself somewhere where you felt like you were weary, afraid, or threatened by the simple sight of black folks?
No, not just because they were black. I mean, I felt uneasy in situations, but that was because, if I'm by myself and it's a few people, that look sketchy, yeah, I get apprehensive a little bit just because I don't know them and
Well,
I don't
that's
care what color they are. But
more
yeah,
so. Is it more so? Well, it's probably more so because you're a female as opposed
yeah,
to them being
that
black,
was
right?
more so. Yeah, that black didn't have nothing to do with it.
Okay, I get it. My wife says that too.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, I kind of agree with Kendra wholeheartedly on this one. Like, Uh, I read people as individuals. To me, when I see my people, I don't see, well, they're black or they're not white or something. I just see my people. So I'm not really judging them based on their blackness, but I am judging other, subconscious cues of behavior. You can see once the way someone looks at you, you have all these things programmed in your brain to be able to read the people that you're interacting with, to see if they mean you harm, to see if the look on their eyes is happy, or they're looking at you like you're prey. You can read all of those things in someone's face and in their body movements and whatever. So that's what I'm reading from people, and the people who have those sketch bag intentions. Those are the people. Yeah, I'm going to keep my distance. I can feel that and I can see that. I think that even if we want to say some stupid shit on the surface, when it comes down to it, when it's just kind of like you are up in a corner, what we are doing is we are actually judging them based on reality. What does this person actually mean? When they reach into their pocket, are you expecting them to pull out a gun and put it in your face? If you are, is it because, well, black people have guns and shoot people? Or is it because you were watching that movement in their body and the hunched shoulders and the eyes and the this and the that and all those signs and signals that tell you someone may want to rob you? Like they're sizing you up and seeing if you're a good mark or not, you know? So I really think that for me, race has nothing to do with it at all. Um, and when I say race has nothing to do with it at all, I mean obviously with our people. With other people, being female, it's late at night, there are two men walking down the street or whatever who are of a different race, I might cross the street. You know what I mean? I will, when I see people, and they're walking up and down looking for change or this or that in traffic, I lock my doors. Not my people, but when I see other people, white people, it doesn't matter what their race is otherwise, because I don't trust them. And I don't know how to read them. And I don't have that automatic understanding of what's about to happen if they get near my car door.
Hmm. Lady Cats.
So is the question, do we trust our own race more than other races?
Yeah, do you get weary when you see black folks, like a group of black dudes, or do you get weary? Are you frightened? Are you afraid when you see black folks?
Hmm, I think it only depends, like maybe possibly what neighborhood they're in. I mean, that's the only thing. Like most of the time, I figure if I if I mind my own business and just let them do them, I figure they won't do anything to me. So if I walk past a group of black people and they just sitting around doing whatever, talking about whatever, whatever, I might, smile at them, say hi, and then go about my business. I mean, that's the only thing. I'm not like super, super worried about it. I mean, unless I see something like actually like explicitly out there. That's the only time I'd really worry. Um, but like what I heard a classic Ruby touch on something, I don't really trust like white guys. Like if I see a couple of them and I'm by myself, yeah, I will cross the street. I don't trust them at all. Um, because I've seen some things concerning white dudes and how they'll treat black girls, and I don't trust it.
Don't trust them white boys, huh?
Hell no.
Well, we covered to the end of the show. So let me ask you ladies this one last question. And this question right here may be tough. But before I do that, I want to direct your attention to this link right here, folks. You see right there? where it says the Prophet of Thought series look like it's been swiped with a yellow highlighter. If you're feeling generous, drop a few coins in the bucket and make sure you put a few likes in this bucket here. Okay? Likes in this bucket, coins in this bucket. And if you're feeling really generous, put likes in this bucket and coins in this bucket. Thank you. It is very, very much appreciated. Well, let me ask you ladies this one last question before we peel out of here. What group, because we know what white folks have thought of us over the course of history. If you want to go back 400, 500, 600 years up until now, we know what they think of us. Which group do you think dislikes us? I'm not going to say just as much, but white folks are first. Okay. They've got first place in the dislike column as far as black people go. Who do you think is next?
I, ooh, this is hard because it seems like a lot of them are just in a competition to, you know, do the kind of the same shit that white people do. So, um, like you had said earlier, might just depend on what area, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I think Asians.
Yeah. From in my personal experience, Asians are more fearful of us. They are scared of us. And that's due to like propaganda and media and stuff. They just don't have any expectation of what we will do, um, how we'll act at any given time. They find our general behavior to be vastly off putting for them. We're boisterous, we're loud, we're out there, and that is just opposite to their culture in general. Um, and I think they have a more fear. The second after them, in my experience, is probably gonna be Indo-Pacs. Indo-Pacs
Mm,
can't stand black people from where I sit. See, black people have more of an experience with like Arabs, but mostly from like the corner stores. But I experience Arabs beyond that. And generally speaking, Arabs are actually pretty cool after, especially after that first generation. Especially if they've been born and raised here, they don't have those stigmas that maybe their grandparents might have had about black people.
mm,
Um, but and that stretches to like Palestinians, Jordanians, North Africans, that kind of thing. Like they don't really have, but Indo-Pacs and Asians, they don't like black people, especially in my experience. And being Muslim didn't change that because it's a lot of Indo-Pacs that are Muslim and they don't like black people. So that's my experience.
Um, well, I agree as far as the difference with Kendra, as far as the difference between like when you think about Asians that like China, Korea, those places, that they fear us. Honestly, I think they fear us more than hate us, though, is the thing. Is I think that they would be quite content to let us live and let live and allow us to just exist, and it's fine as long as we leave them alone. They can continue to enjoy things of our culture that they love, such as hip hop, and everyone can live in peace and harmony. Um, so my choice, my number one choice, really, is those Asians, India, Pakistan, those areas because they hate us. They really do, and I think the reason why is again it's that caste system they already have built into their own cultures. Um, and the fact that their skin tones mirror ours. So, our lightest of light looks like their lightest of light. Our darkest of dark looks like their darkest of dark. I'm sure there are absolutely differences, but what it comes down to is they look at us, and as it is, it's like versus the say a Chinese person, their lightest of light is white people, their darkest of dark is like our lightest of light. So you're literally kind of evaluating a different scale. They are looking at us, and they already use a lot of the terms that are used in derogatory terms towards Black folk. They already use those terms with each other and definitely with us. They already have it built into their culture to hate us, and to have nothing but disdain for us at best, if not direct disrespect and hate. So they would definitely be next on the list for a group of people who hate us the most, and would definitely, I mean, I can see them entirely wanting to and joining into the fight to enslave us and whatever, because they do think that we're subhuman. And I see that example all the time. Even their children, I noticed that their children go through periods where they like us. They're, whether it's little kids or teenagers, young adults, where they might want to date us, and they like us and they don't understand why their parents are like that, et cetera, et cetera. But by the time they have children of their own, I noticed they fall back into that racist upbringing where we're trash. They don't want their kids to have anything to do with our kids.
Well, those were good answers, ladies, but I must disagree with all of you. Um, I think who comes in second to white folks who hate Black people more is Black people. Um, it's been my experience, what I've seen over the course of my life, the 40 some odd years I've been alive. I have seen Black people do some of the most horrific things to other Black people. I have seen Black people um, take things from Black people, from other Black people that they know these Black people didn't have. I have also seen Black people uh, degrade, uh, deceive, and just downright denigrate other Black people. So I'll have to disagree with all of you ladies. I think the people who come in second in disliking Black people are other Black people. Um, Mainly because that's who Black people have the most access to, is other Black people. So when you talk about the things, the horror, the hurt, the pain, the injustice, the violence, the total disregard and disrespect of Black people, I think that Black people are definitely running in a close second to white folks. That's just my opinion. But what the hell do I know? Um, Good show tonight, ladies. This was a good topic. Um, as always, you ladies always lay it down. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And also, what I want everybody to do is get their behinds on down there to Prophet of Thought series on Facebook. That's Prophet of Thought, one word, series, because y'all have been writing me talking about y'all can't get on the page. Stop writing me. Prophet of Thought, one word, series, second word. Okay? It's a community page. It's not a personal page. It's a community page. Prophet of Thought, one word. I'll say it again. Series, second word. Okay, get on there, like, share, follow the page. You can always catch up with me there. You can catch up with the U4 there. You can catch up with teacher Tanisha there as well. Also, get on the TPOT bandwagon page. Now, that page is a personal page. That page you can actually send a friend request to. Okay, you can send a friend request to that particular page, and I'll make sure it get clicked back quick. So get your butt behind there, down there to the TPOT bandwagon page. Also, the Prophet of Thought series fan group page. Make sure you get down there and check that out. Request to be a member. I guarantee you'll get accepted ultra quick. There's always some good stuff on there. I mean, because it's a group, so it's about 2,800 people in it. I'm trying to get it to 3,000 before the end of July. With you guys' help, I can do it. Let's find yourself, be one of the 3,000. Yeah, get on down there to the Proper Thought Series fan group page. There's always good stuff there. It's not just my shit there, it's other people's shit there too, because other people from the group post all kinds of stuff. So you ain't just gotta come down there and listen to X talk shit. You got other people on there talking shit as well. Also, check us out on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's right, Prophet of Thought on Instagram. Follow me. You guaranteed to get a follow back when I get around to checking it. But guess what? I have been checking it more, y'all. I have, really. Don't be mad at me. I have been checking it more and more. Also, get on down there to the TPOT Twitter page. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. And I'm about to jump on y'all asses about this Twitter page right now. Right? I got like 1,000 people on the main Prophet of Thought series page. I got almost 3,000 people on the damn Prophet of Thought series fan group page. So combined, that's like 4,000 people. How come I only got like 25, 30 followers on Twitter? That don't make any sense. Y'all can't make your way down to Twitter and click that damn button? Come on. Follow us on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, because if you don't, I will haunt you in your dreams until you're old and gray. Also, get on down there to the Prophet of Thought series website. It's www.don'teventreit.wikifoundry.com. That's www.don'teventreit.wikifoundry.com. Get on there. You can catch up with the U4 there. You can leave messages there. Make sure you stop by the Tribute to the Fallen page. I know I tell y'all about this every week, but I'm going to keep on doing it. Stop by the Tribute to the Fallen page. It's something that's very important to me. I've been getting pictures. I've been putting them up. If you're someone who has been sending me pictures, you can check. All your pictures are up. I did put your pictures up. I did. If you got somebody that you want to put on the Tribute to the Fallen, just hit me up. My email is on the website. If you don't have it, make sure you send me a photograph, and make sure you send me the person's name so I know who they are, so they can get up on the Tribute to the Fallen carousel, because I feel like these people should have tribute to them as long as my black ass is around. And like I always say, it doesn't have to be somebody that you know. It could be somebody that you saw in the news, you seen in the newspaper, whatever. Just make sure you send me the photo and the name. And if you want to write me a story about, if it may be a story that I don't know about, feel free to fill me in on the consequences of the person. I'll be glad to hear it, and I'll make sure they get up on the old Tribute to the Fallen carousel. Also, if you go down there, you can't just catch that down there and the U4 down there. My black ass is down there too. Go ahead, go through the website, read the bio of TPOT. Also, go onto the main page and check out the old Nubia Hood archives. And coming soon is going to be Teacher Tanisha's online store. The name of the online store, y'all, is Water and Wind. Teacher Tanisha she's got so much shit that she sells, y'all. Just too much for me to tell y'all in one sitting. So you're gonna have to hit her up on her email. It's the spirits of water and wind at gmail.com. The spirits of water and wind at gmail.com. Teacher Tanisha got so much shit, y'all. It's crazy. But pretty soon you'll be able to go through it. You'll be able to purchase, and I think she'll give you a discount if you mention TPOT. So she's got a lot of shit, y'all. It's just too much shit. Y'all got to email if y'all want to know all the shit she got, because just too much to tell y'all about. So that's going to be up there soon as well. So once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, everybody in the chat, my mods always in there doing what they're supposed to do. Also, my audience, I want to thank you for showing up tonight, spending some time with us. And I also want to thank the Unicorn 4 minus Lady Ming, Lady Classic, Lady Kendra, and Lady Cats. T.L.O.T, always laying down a good show. So make sure you have your black behinds here next week, same time, same station, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, for another good show laid down by the ladies of thought. And with that, I will leave you with 3 words, like I always do.
Open your mind.
And we out of here, y'all.
All right. Until next week, y'all. Cheers.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Peace, folks.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
Lady Class, Lady Kendra, Lady Cat, Lady Ling, the Unicorn,
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
only from T.L.O.T. Open your minds.